there seems to be a really dangerous misconception with self-improvement. People, for some reason, think self-improvement is about working harder, but the truth is, it's just about having the systems. So what do I mean by this? Because the truth is, you probably don't understand what I mean when I say systems. Well, based on Atomic Habits written by James Clear, if you make your life 1% better every day, just 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better by the end of the year. On the other hand, if you do a 1% detriment every day for a whole year, you'll be almost at a net zero. Zero. You'll be completely negligible. So, think of a millionaire. While we're doing other things in our lives, he's spending more time making money. So, okay, he's putting a bit extra time than we are. But he's not working incredibly hard. He's talking to the right people, making the wisest investments, and then, of course, choosing the proper businesses. If you didn't care about ethics, then you could do a quick pump and dump scheme, or you could scam people. You're going to make a lot of money, and you're going to make it quickly. Yes, obviously you shouldn't do that. Similarly to if you want to get a bunch of muscle mass, you could take steroids, but you shouldn't, right? The point is taking advantage of the right systems. So obviously that's a bit of an extreme scenario, be it scamming or taking steroids. But if you just think of studying, for example, you'd want to study smartly and quickly. So that way you actually retain the information and you don't waste your time just noting the same things down again and again and again, and then you don't even remember it. So that's what self-improvement is. Just taking advantage of the proper systems. And of course, given my examples, it might seem that it might be blown overboard, but these are 1% changes. So maybe that's just using a Google Calendar, or spending a bit of money to learn about something, or buying a book. You're taking advantage of a system, your ability to read, right? Your access to knowledge on the internet, or a calendar that you can set up, and you're making your day 1% better. And what are these called? These 1% changes are called habits. These are habits you implement that just significantly increase your success. Now, granted, it's going to take time to see these changes. They're 1%, and it takes a year to find something drastically noticeable. And if you want to see something ridiculous, then you're going to have to wait a lifetime. But that's why you see athletes live for prolonged periods of time, because they have healthier habits, healthier lifestyles, as opposed to the fat person who dies at 40 because their life isn't healthy. It's all about your life, period. So maybe that's getting up 1 minute earlier for a whole year. So by the end of the year, you're getting up a couple hours earlier. Or maybe that's doing a couple push-ups every day, right? Point is, these are incredibly small changes. These are incredibly small habits. So here's what I suggest. Here's some key habits I really suggest you implement if you truly want to work on self-improvement very effectively and just skip a lot of thinking about habits and just implementing some key ones right away. So firstly, doing something right away when you wake up. So whether that's some studying you want to do that you didn't finish, a video you want to watch and learn, a bit of reading you want to do, a prayer you want to finish or even start. Maybe it's a thing you want to think about, a video you want to record, or you know what, it can be anything. Start as soon as possible. This is two things. One, you're getting something out of the way, so you don't have to worry about it later, right? That's the whole eating the frog, but just think about it like you're getting the difficult task out of the way. And if you don't know what that's saying is, eating the frog basically means a king says you can eat any meal you want, right? You get infinite access to food, but you have to eat a live frog. So would you eat the frog after you eat this giant meal or before the meal, right? So the wise man is going to eat the frog before everything, so that way he doesn't have to worry about it later, right? Just getting it out of the way. So that could be any of your tasks. But sometimes these tasks aren't monumentous. Sometimes they're as easy as just, reading a book or a page in your Bible, or just a page in your book, whatever it is. Those aren't hard. Maybe it's doing some push-ups. That's not hard. That's not like frog-worthy tasks. But the point is you're getting it out of the way so you don't have to worry about it. And then secondhand, because you started with something immediately, not only it's out of the way, but your mind is triggered to start working. You need at least 2 minutes to get fully engaged with a task. That's why when you start cleaning your room, you want to finish the whole thing because you get passionate about it. You're invested into it. That's why when you start studying, you find it more difficult to start or find it more difficult to stop than it was starting in the first place, because you now are invested into it. So that's basically like starting your day off and you're already invested into what you're doing, which is perfect. So maybe that's going for a jog, going to the gym. The gym's oftentimes a great one because even though we're going to go to the gym regardless, sometimes we have difficulties with motivating ourselves to go to the gym. So if you can just wake up and go to the gym right away, be it 6 o'clock, 6:30, 5:30, 7:30, whatever time it is you want to wake up and go to the gym, if you can get that out of the way for the day, that's perfect, right? So gym's oftentimes the best one because you don't have to think about going to the gym. You don't have to do the mental math or calculate anything. You just wake up, mindlessly walk on over there, lift some weight for like an hour, and then you're done. Perfect. Day's off to a good start. You already got something done. And you know what? That's like getting an extra hour of sleep, but instead of sleeping, you're now building up your body. So over a lifetime, you're going to have an insanely jacked body and an insanely healthy body with alongside being in a very regimented routine. So now we know how to start our mornings. So what is something else we should do? Well, additionally, the second major habit we should start with in self-improvement is reflection. So why is reflection so important? Well, I just told you that you should focus on something in the morning. Well, what do you want to do in the morning? What is that you have to focus on in the morning? Don't have a gym membership, so you can't go to the gym. So what are you going to do? Don't have a book you want to read, so you're not going to read a page. Okay, what are you going to do? Don't have assignments to study. What are you going to do in the morning? Well, what is it? That comes through reflection. Me just coming up with these ideas, be it stuff in the morning or the whole outline of what these habits are that I'm going to instruct you that you should start with in self-improvement, only came through my reflection. So you need to reflect if you want to have any accountability towards your discipline, if you want to actually work on things, if you want to start things, continue things, you need to reflect. So that could be a moment where you're not scrolling on your phone and you're just sitting and thinking. Maybe you got like really interested. You're thinking about this girl you like, or you're thinking about this business you want to start, or you're thinking about your future, or you're thinking about your relationships, religious relationships, familiar relationships, romantic relationships, friendly relationships, right? Oftentimes relationships are a good way to start spiraling into reflection because you're going to start thinking about outcomes. So if you can just like stop and just think for a moment, that is amazing. When I was going to school out of town, I would just walk back and forth my apartment for like hours, just thinking and reflecting and noting down things that I was learning. I came up with the philosophy of the 3 tiers of awareness, right? Which is the idea of knowing, understanding, and appreciating, which helps me understand, granted, and then appreciate the world from a much wider lens where I can have more empathy to people, which makes me a better man in relationships. That only came through reflection, not because I read it in a video or I saw it in a book or something, but because I thought about it. So your mind is insanely powerful, right? People don't just take the stuff out of their ass. Like, this is insanely powerful stuff that you can come up with. You can design this. It's your life after all. You are the only limitation. So you don't have to record a video like I am. You don't have to write stuff down in a book, but maybe do a voice recording. Maybe just talk to yourself. Maybe talk to God, whatever it is. Talk to a buddy. If you can reflect and grow within some grounds throughout the day, then you are growing much larger than you think you are, right? Throughout a year, you might think, oh, I didn't do anything. I didn't learn anything. But if you think about it just for a moment, you're insanely smarter. Your brain is going to think much faster, so you're going to be a faster learner, especially under pressure, and you're going to be way closer to your goals because you would have thought about it, right? You know when you get a really large assignment in school and the rubric is so daunting you don't even want to look at it? Reflection is like you haven't started the work, but you fully understand the rubric, right? That's step 0 of doing a huge assignment. Like, let's say you have a huge, 10,000 word paper, 100,000 word paper. It's unimaginably large paper. The rubric's going to be crazy, especially if it's a lab report or something specific. Or you're doing something creative like an art project or a video project. Then the rubric's going to be crazy. It's going to be very specific, especially with file formats. As I do photography for school, it's always really daunting in a rubric. It's just lots of words that are hard to understand. So reflection is just looking at the rubric. So by the end of the year, you'll be smarter, faster, stronger, but you'll know what business you're interested in. You'll know what you want to do for the rest of your life. You'll know what man you have to be. You'll know what girl you're interested in, right? Or vice versa. You'll know what girl you have to be and what man you're interested in. So the interesting thing is that reflection outlines our entire life. The likelihood is that you have no idea what you want to do right now. But if you can spend a year, even if you make no progress, the fact of the matter is you've completely changed the direction of your life because you'll know exactly where you want to end up. And that only comes through the skill of reflecting, right? So now we know we want to start making implementations into our life that actually improve our life based off of starting something in the morning, right? Getting us into the mood of just doing things, right? Building that discipline. And just making it easy on ourselves, right? Life is about making the tasks we want to do really easy, like making money easy. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then making the tasks that we don't want to do, like lusting, hard. You would want to make lusting or gambling or drug addictions hard, and making money, building relationships, building a physical and a mental body, right? Like building this insanely smart mind and insanely strong body. We want to make that stuff easy. Wouldn't it be great if putting on like 100 pounds of muscle was like easy, right? Now, obviously you can't do that, but you can make it easier than, I don't know, a bad habit you're worried about, like an addiction, or like, oh, I'm just sitting and watching YouTube all day, right? So how can we actually focus against these? Reflection helps, right? We actually learned about it. Starting stuff in the morning helps because we're going to start attacking these things. But how do we actually counteract these huge habitual nightmares of the bad work being easy and the good work being hard? Well, that comes through the aforementioned 1% changes. So the best piece of advice I can give on top of the reflection and on top of starting stuff in the morning is the 1% implementations, like using a Google Calendar to outline your day, right? I started off by using the Notes app, right? Homework I had to do, or a thing I had to do, or a person I had to talk to, a thing I had to an email, right? Something I had to write, something I had to read, a gym day. All of it would be on my Notes app. But it became confusing because then that would be tomorrow's work, and then, oh, that would be Saturday's work, and that'd be next month's work, and it was all in my notes. So I put it on a calendar. So now I have a calendar, and I understand it's daunting, so don't put everything on there right away. Just start by making it a Google account, which you probably already have if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever. You have a Gmail, right? And then just make a Gmail Google Calendar. There you go. And just put crap on there. Mine is full of like thousands and thousands of stuff. These are things I had to work on, habits I wanted to develop. And what this did is it made it infinitely easier to just work on things. That was a 1% change, 1% improvement, right? Going to the gym, jogging to the gym, that's a 1% improvement. Now I'm working on my cardiovascular abilities, my breathing abilities, my ability to just run better, sprint faster, run for longer distances, just by jogging to the gym instead of walking to the gym, right? Granted, I'm close enough that I'm allowed to walk. I don't drive to the gym, right? I don't have a car over where I'm doing my school. I can just run over there. But by running instead of walking, I'm doing all that and I'm saving time. Right? Isn't that amazing? Instead of listening to music, I listen to my Bible. That's a 1% change. That's not hard. Instead of going straight to bed, I'll do like 5 minutes or 10 seconds of shadow boxing, do some push-ups, and then I go to bed. That's a 1% change right there. And then boom, now my life is stronger, smarter, and more rigorous, more disciplined, and more likely to be successful. And think about relationships, just being a bit more confident, being a bit more kind, being a bit more empathetic, right? Just being generally speaking, a better individual. But that comes through the 1% changes. A quick 1% change that I want to make right now is licking my lips less in videos or rubbing my nose less, even though I have really bad allergies, just so it's a bit more appealing to the viewer. Those are tiny 1% changes that you wouldn't notice or I wouldn't notice, but it just makes things look better. And I might not acknowledge them over a year of progress, but in a year of progress, certainly I'll be in a better position given the 1% changes, right? So you can understand that easily. Obviously, there's 1% changes. So what does that do, right? We're starting stuff right away, right? We're eating the frog, we're reflecting a lot, and then given on all that stuff combined, we're making these 1% changes to actually be better. And this is legit, by the way, right? The millionaire has to learn who he can invest with and who he can talk to for his investing strategies. He has to learn where he can spend his money, how to make money, because you don't just make money at working on a job. Maybe you work 2 jobs, 3 jobs, maybe you start a business, maybe you start something cool, something new, something crazy, and then you improve upon it. And if it fails, you take everything you learn, all the 1% changes, and you apply it to something else, or it's already with you on your own life. So if you fail, who cares? You already have them implemented into your life, right? If you fail building your business, you still go to the gym, you still get up early, you still do your work properly, you still work on everything, so you're good to go to the next one. That comes through the 1% changes. But what does this do? It changes your identity. You go from a man who's so focused on these goals that he cannot achieve. $1 million business. What are you doing with your life? Getting that girl. Are you actually worthy of a girl? Getting better grades. Well, are you actually studying? Going to the gym. Do you even have a membership? And he becomes a man who just naturally achieves these things because he's doing push-ups every night. So he's likely to build a routine that's actually worthy of owning a membership by constantly going to the gym through repetitive workouts before going to bed. He's a better man as a result of all these things in tandem. So he's more worthy of the relationship, not because he deserves a girl, but because he's a good man through, like, by nature, by shifting his identity. He's building a business and he's making money, not because he's chasing the money, but because he's chasing the process and he enjoys what he's doing. And of course, he gets smarter because studying is easy for him, not because he's forcing it, but because he just spends effort learning about it and he finds joy in learning. So the identity shift is going from someone who is goal-oriented to becoming someone who is journey-oriented, someone who's focused on the systems. Because the truth is, every person who fails and every person who wins wants the goal. So if you can fail and want the goal and win and want the goal is not the common denominator. Or in fact it is, but it's the common denominator to being useless. Right? If you can, like, strive for a goal, win, and then strive for the same goal and lose, it doesn't matter what the goal is. It matters what you're doing. So the focus is the systems, never the goal. Of course, goals are nice. Easy goals are even nicer, right? So make life easy on yourself, and that helps with doing the good work you want to focus on by making it easier, more ascertainable. If you get really happy doing push-ups before you're going to bed, certainly that's easier when it comes to building a habit than it is to destroying a habit like lusting before bed, right? So the point is you have to change your identity. You have to change the man you are to the man you want to become. You're no longer the man who's chasing these goals, but you're the man who's building a process so thorough and process so special that you won't even notice it, but you'll love living it. You'll love living in the progress that you're making because you know you're being better, even if you can't notice or realize any change. My name is Nolan Painter. If you want me to help you with change, then feel free to reach out to me on my call service. I will be your #1 accountability bro. I will help you with literally anything you want, and I guarantee it. We together and through my help, you will achieve your goals. Anyways, if you're interested in subscribing, feel free to do so. If you want to actually share my video, I'd greatly appreciate it, as it allows me to share my message with more people who I wish I would have shared my videos with younger, because younger Nolan would have enjoyed this stuff. I wish someone had sent me this video like 1, 2, 3 years ago, even 6 months ago. I wish I would have gotten a video like this, right? This is nice stuff. This is like tens of thousands of hours of learning compacted into like only a couple minutes. So I'd really appreciate it if you actually shared it, and I reckon the person you're sharing it with would also appreciate it as well. If there's anything you don't necessarily understand, feel free to ask me in the comments. And well, yeah, that's all. I love you, but God loves you more, and I will see you tomorrow.